evening, everyone, and welcome to our Set Up for Success live event. Before I do or say anything, I have to remember to say, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because every week I don't seem to remember. I'm not very good at promoting myself. So please, please, please do remember to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that parents all around the world, all around the UK especially, can hear what we have to say, because obviously the information that we're sharing is very useful. My name, as you know, is Tracy Answer, and I'm the founder and the host of Set Up for Success, a YouTube channel that has been created for parents who just want to help their children to get the best out of their life. And this evening, I've been joined by two amazing people, Ike and Dee. And I'm just going to read a little bit about Ike, first of all. Ike, and I'm going to try and say his name without butchering it. I'm going to try and speak Igbo. So Ichukwu Lino is a widowed father of three. He's a self-employed automation test engineer and a dedicated father. He enjoys anything health-related, whether exercise, healthy eating, or mindfulness. So welcome, Ike. It's lovely to have you on the show. And we're also joined with Dee. And Dee is, I'll just read her bio as well. Dee is on a journey of self-discovery in order to fully live her purpose. Dee has worked in various office administrative roles, the longest standing being at the Royal Courts of Justice. Dee has a keen interest in law and loves to read and research a wide variety of subjects, including health and well-being, spirituality, self-development, and Black history. Dee is a mother of two boys whom she home educates, and her interests include traveling and writing. However, her main passion is using the knowledge and skills that she's acquired over the years to assist people from all walks of life. So welcome, Dee. I've really been looking forward to talking to you two this evening, because homeschooling is something I know nothing about, being a teacher. So I have really been looking forward to speaking to you. So has my husband. And so I think I'm just going to fire away at Ike and just say, Ike, how long have you been homeschooling your children?
Okay, myself and my late wife, when we first started to homeschool, my son was 6 going on 7. So he's 15 now, so it's been roughly about 8 years. In that time, there's been instances where we've gone back to the public school system for reasons as my wife's health, etc., etc. But mainly he's been homeschooled most of that time. My daughter started off being homeschooled with my son. So my wife used to take her everywhere like a little handbag. And so she experienced loads of different things, traveling all around England and Wales itself, and going to different homeschool groups and groups and meetings and whatnot, and interacting with different children all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. And Dee, how long have you been homeschooling your boys?
Well, since my son was about 6 as well, and he's 12 now, so 6 years I've been homeschooling.
The 6 years. Wow.
My youngest is 7. So yeah, 6 years. 7.
Wow.
7 years. 6.
So how have you both found homeschooling? Have you found it enjoyable? Are you at the point where, you thought it's the best decision that you ever made? How have you found homeschooling?
Who are you throwing that at?
I'm going to throw it out at you, Dee, as you asked first.
It's been very enjoyable and very rewarding. It's been a challenge as well. It's very challenging because, initially I went to school, and so I didn't really know much about home education before I started myself. So it was a challenge to develop a strategy that was suitable for my son. Initially, I tried school at home, so I just tried to follow a routine, but that didn't work for him at all. He hated it. And I noticed that when I would give him work, he would mope around. He just wasn't happy. And so I had to go back to the drawing board. And I've tried a couple different structures. For us, what works best is really, we have a loose schedule where I make sure they do a certain amount of English, maths, and the sciences a week. I set them the work and they have to finish it in a week. I'm not after them all the time. They pretty much know that they have to do it. Outside of that, they do work on what they enjoy doing.
Right.
We do projects. Yeah, so that's it really. That's it as far as how I found it so far.
Brilliant.
A learning process.
So you're learning while they're learning.
Definitely.
Brilliant. And Ike, how have you found the process?
Initially, when my late wife first came to me and she said she wanted to homeschool our son, I'm the type of person is that I like to do research. So I started to research into homeschooling and different things. But at the time, the only thing we could actually find was based in America. So we found a lot of homeschooling groups there. People were online on YouTube. And also we found an academy. And there was a gentleman who was doing like curriculums and things like that. So that was my first worry. But my wife was, she was the type of person who was very enthusiastic, very, like most mums, you know, very fun, always thought of fun things for the children to do, where to take them, etc., etc. So she brought all the plan we put on paper to life, basically. She took it and ran with it, and I just had to deal with the maths, the IT, you know, the computing and things that I love. So I let her do all the hard stuff and I stayed away from English. But it went really well because she engaged in many groups, homeschool groups, and that made a big difference because then she started to learn about different things that the children can do. She started to learn about what she can add to the curriculum. She started to make things a bit more fun. At that time, I was working while she was doing most of that. I would only cover the topics that I'm supposed to cover at a certain time in the day. But after she passed, I really saw what she was actually doing. And the fun side of things, you know, I wasn't good at the social side of things. As many dads, when you go to these homeschool groups, we're just really timid and we're in a corner kind of thing. So that's how I was initially. I didn't know how to have a conversation with people or mums and to ask them certain questions. But then after a while, I just forced myself and I started to speak to them and things like that and ask them, you know, what their children were doing and getting my son to bond. And because that's one of the main things with homeschooling is the socializing.
Right.
You can talk about the socializing. And that was a big challenge for me, just to make sure that he socialized. Everything else is pretty straightforward for me because the template had already been set and I've got everything in place for my son. So therefore it makes it easier for my daughter. And with my daughter at the moment, I've decided to go more down the one-on-one tutoring route. So she has a few tutors online at the moment because of COVID and everything else that will teach her certain things. And then I would add on to that during the week and nail that home kind of thing and try and make it fun. So it has its challenges, especially through COVID. I've really felt it for the children because socializing, you can't. You're in a classroom, but it's virtual. Yeah. So through that, you don't get to socialize. All you get to see is the teacher, answer some questions, and that's it. So it's been pretty tough. So I'm happy that some of the homeschool groups have opened up recently. And let me not waffle on because I can go for ages. So I'll leave it at that.
No, that's brilliant.
It's not bad.
So my next question, I'll fire away at D, and then also I'll come back to you, Ike, is is there a particular homeschool curriculum that you follow, or are there a wide variety?
No, there isn't. Not now. Initially, I was following the national curriculum.
Right.
But like I said, with my eldest son, that didn't work at all. And I tried a couple online curriculums.
Okay.
Now I've developed my own, just taking pieces from, different ones I've come across. And there's a whole host of curriculums available online. When you first start out, there is a tendency to want to have everything a certain way, want to have everything set up a certain way.
Right.
But going to groups, like I said, and socializing with other mums, they assured me that it's a learning process, and one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
And so the benefits of home ed is that you can cater your child's education to their needs, and that's what I do, because my two sons are completely different. And so, I've just developed a curriculum based on their abilities, what they enjoy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dee. Ike, is there a particular curriculum that you use?
We initially started with the national curriculum. We took some pieces from there. So the foundational stuff, like Dee said, so for instance, maths, English, science, focus on those areas. Included simple things like handwriting and things like that. Also, my son does piano. He's really good in terms of he's got a musical ear. So we encouraged that, and we gave him piano lessons from a young age, and we built that up, and currently he's still doing it. And so that's part of our curriculum. Initially, we weren't sure what you can add in and what you can't. So after a while, speaking to different parents and also obviously doing our research, we realized that you can make of it what you will. So we basically played to his strengths, and also anything that I like. For instance, with me, it's more IT. So coding is one of the things that I teach. But my wife then wanted at the time to start doing some kind of law or something with him, but that didn't transpire. But curriculum-wise, it's what you make it. And with my daughter, for instance, I've got all the core stuff locked down. She's very arty. She's into drama. She's a drama queen, and sings a lot, things like that. So I am struggling to try and find that for her. So at the moment, I'm in the process of. She does art already, so I've got art covered. But I'm trying to add the singing. I'm trying to add the different aspects that she likes. Ballet. I'm trying to sort that out currently as well. So all these different things, as long as it balances to what they're into as well, I think that's the main thing, because you're trying to make it as holistic as you can, as opposed to just bombard them with a strict regimen. PE wise, that's covered because they do athletics. They did that today. They do taekwondo. We all do it as a family. They have PE sessions where they turn up to a group like these groups, and they just have fun and run around and with other children. So so that's it. I just as long as the core's there, we can do what we need to do. Yeah.
Brilliant. What have I got? Echo. So my next question was, is it expensive being a homeschool parent? Is it expensive? Do you have to keep buying into a lot of different curriculums or online tutors? Is it expensive, Dee?
It's all I know. And I purchase things that I probably would purchase anyway, even if they went to school.
Okay.
Education doesn't end when they finish school, their school day, and is it expensive? I don't know. I may perhaps if my sons went to school and then I took them out and then I was home educated, I would think it's expensive, but not really. It's an investment, you
It's
know,
investment.
and
Brilliant.
that's how I see it, you know, and whatever extracurricular activities they're doing, they would be doing that anyway. So
Anyway,
it's just like arts and crafts. They're stationary, um, you know, perhaps like science kits and things like that.
right,
These are things that if they had an interest in it, I would buy anyway.
right.
So, no, not really.
So,
I no,
so not really. So,
no.
but Ike, how would you? Thank you, Dee. How would you say? Do you think it's expensive?
It adds up, but I don't think of it in that way.
Right.
You asking me the question just made me think about it. It does add up, but I don't think of it in that way. Like Dee said, it's an investment. So
Yeah.
in my mind, it's just strictly that.
Right.
Tutors, for instance, you've got all these different things. My son goes to a homeschool group where they have classes there. So with that one, you know, you pay X amount each time. But I don't really think about it. Maybe I should, you know. I
No, don't.
should do that when they get older, you know. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it, Dee. An investment.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really positive way of looking at it. Yeah, that's good. So, is it scary? Is it intimidating wanting to take on the whole responsibility of your child's education? Did you find it intimidating?
Maybe initially, because I didn't know what I was doing, you know.
Yeah.
However, um, once I made a decision, that was it. You know, I researched and I sought out other home educators, and there's a lot of support out there. You know, once you get into the right circles, and so no, not really. It's challenging. It can be challenging, but no, I don't say it's scary.
And Ike?
Yes, it was for me. Initially, with my wife there, it wasn't, you know. But once that was an option, it was scary, especially English. And strangely enough, I enjoy writing. I write a lot. So, but it was so daunting for me that I just didn't want to get it wrong. I just
Right.
didn't want to get it wrong with him. So I was doing the basics up to a certain age, which was fine. But then once he got to a certain stage, I started to question myself. Can I do this? You know? And and so what I did was I decided to get a recommendation for a good English teacher. So
Okay.
somebody that would actually just to take away that pressure from me, so I can focus on the other areas, and also obviously my daughter as well. So I just thought, okay, you know what? If I'm not 100% on this, let me just get someone else to focus and zone in and just inspire him as well to love reading and different things. So I found somebody who's just brilliant. Same with my daughter as well. So that just took so much pressure off me. But everything else, um, initially by myself, there was a worry, especially when I took my daughter out, and there was a little bit of a panic, like I would get it wrong. And once I started to sit with her and go through certain things, and I just saw after a while saw the results, of her understanding certain things and expressing it. That was it. I was like, okay, this is working, especially like with the spellings and the writing and different things like that. It was just developing, and I was just like, oh wow, I'm doing it. She's doing it. So it gave me more motivation to carry on, and I don't regret that. I'm doing it at all. So yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. So, what do you think are some of the pitfalls? What things can go wrong when you're homeschooling? Dee? Or what things did go wrong?
Perhaps in the beginning, it was just when you don't know what you're doing, and I was trying to, like I said, create school at home. So that was a challenge to reprogram my mind and to develop a different way of teaching my son. So it wasn't something that once I had him, I thought, right, I'm going to home educate. If I had, then perhaps I would have researched and I would have been better prepared. Right. So there was a year or so where it was a bit, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And there are times when you doubt yourself, like I said, when it comes to certain subjects, you can doubt yourself whether you're I question myself, am I doing the right thing? Should I questioned whether I should send him to school. But that was in the very beginning. You quickly realize that there are tools out there. Like I said, you can use tutors to cover subjects that you're not well versed in, and it's what you make it. Yeah, it's what you make it. So
brilliant. And I thank you for that. What sort of pitfalls did you encounter?
My own confidence initially when I had to do everything. It was my own confidence. That was, I realized there was times where, even with the English, where I was teaching him, and he was very inspired by what I was teaching him, but I wasn't confident. And my fear was that the lack of confidence would start appearing in him. So I had to battle that, and that took me a little while. And then on top of that, there was times where I was doing too much. I was trying to do too much in a day, forgetting that, they're children. So, you're trying to, keep up kind of thing. But, and also balancing the time out, the schedule of, the fun times and then the work.
Right.
What should you do? Is it just, in the case of my daughter, a 20-minute period and then rest and then come back? So just getting the schedule, getting used to making sure that they're just not exhausted by it. Because there was days where, my daughter was just exhausted. She was just looking at me like, oh my God, like, give me a minute. And with my son, I think with him similarly, but not so much, because he was used to, the only thing was lacking was the social, especially during COVID. But yeah, it was just making sure that I have a balance and remembering that it's all about balance. It's not about how much you can cram down, in their brain.
Yes.
It's making sure that they enjoy the experience. And sometimes you forget. There's even days now I still forget. It's like, okay, we need to get this done. Yeah, and then you take a breath and you're like, hold on, slow down, just relax. So yeah.
Wow. So how did you transition? Oh, sorry, Dave, was you going to say something?
No, I was saying that's one of the good things about home education, because there are days when my son may wake up and I can just look at him and know he's just not in the mood for the day, and you can just change it and do something else.
Right.
That's not as demanding on them, So that's one of the positives.
Yeah, that must be a real positive. Whereas with our children going to school, it's still get up, and got to go because of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you transition? Because obviously you guys are parent and teacher. So like, do you have a set room where when I'm in this room, I'm the teacher and we're in school? Because I know some people that they take their homeschooling to like the 100th degree, where they've even got uniform and they've got a set room. And was it what is that? Condoleezza Rice. I think she was homeschooled. And I think her mum used to let her physically walk out of the house and then walk back in. And when she walked in, now you're now in school. So it was quite a strict regimen. So do you guys like have this room where it's got the board and it's got the table and this is school and it's separate from the rest of the house? Or is it just all fluid and your parent and teacher all together? Or when you're in this room, I'm sir.
Should I answer that?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. normally it's anywhere we have space, because there's times where my son has lessons online and there's times where my daughter has lessons online. So normally we move around. But there's times where we all sit at the table, and there's times where I'm doing something with my daughter and my son needs a space. So we're everywhere, really. We're everywhere. I do want to get it more where we're all in one room, just focused and doing things, especially the stuff we do together where we're at the table and we're just doing it. So if we're doing art, we're all doing art.
Okay.
I want to get it to that level where I need to organize myself better around that. But at the moment, I'm juggling a lot. That's what I'm finding. I'm juggling quite a bit, you know.
D?
We don't have very few. There are times when I'm working with my youngest, and because of what we're doing, my eldest son will go and work somewhere else at the table in our spare room. That's where the computer and everything is. He'll go in there, and I'll be working somewhere else with my other son.
Okay.
And there's no uniforms, and I'm mummy and teacher. You know, so, yeah.
Brilliant. I've got a question here from one of the viewers, and it says, what is the reason for going down the homeschooling route rather than the mainstream school? So what was your reason for switching from the mainstream schooling to homeschooling? D?
For me, I made the conscious decision as my son was approaching school. My sister got a year older than my eldest son, and my sister was home educating. And she was also my childminder when I was still working. And so that's what made me really think, I wonder if I can do this. But then also, I'm the eldest of 5 for my mom, and my brothers are about 20 years younger than me. And I can remember going to the school with my mom and their dad about various issues with the younger of my 2 brothers, and just everything that he went through at school. And even now he'll talk about it, things that he observed and the way he thinks he was treated differently because he was very outspoken. He would challenge authority if he was in the right. And just different things that happened that made me think, when I thought back as my eldest was approaching school age, I thought, you know what, I think home education is the route for me. That was definitely one of the factors that was key to me making that decision. Some of the things I saw my brother go through at school.
Wow. Thanks for that. Ike, what was your reason?
Our reason was basically bullying was one of the things that crept in later on. Our son's very social, but he used to get into quite a lot of problems with other children. And because of the area where we lived at the time, we lived in Cardiff. And so there weren't that many, young black boys there. So the way the teachers would actually react to him and different things like that, it didn't sit well with me or my wife. On many occasions, he was racially abused and things like that. And the way the school handled it, it was just like, we were shocked. And from that point, his self-esteem started to go down and he started to question, his skin.
Yeah.
I wish I was this, I wish I was that, So the moment we heard that from him, that was it. We had the discussion and we just pulled him out. And shortly after that, anyway, we prepared what we needed to prepare and we just pulled him out. And my wife was confident and said, no, I can do this. I know what to do. I've done this research. You've done that research. Let's just do it. Because his self-esteem was just getting battered. It was getting battered.
Right.
And that was our reason for it. In terms of secondary school, even this, because when my wife was ill, he was in secondary school because obviously it was too much for us to handle. So we put him in secondary school the first year. But that was a bad, as hard as things were at the time, it wasn't the right decision for him. He was dealing with too much based on what mummy was going through, but he was also he wasn't coping, and there was a lot of bullying going on there as well. And it's a big transition from a primary school to secondary school.
Yeah.
It didn't suit him. So I said to her, I'm just going to pull him out and I'm going to just take time off work and just start getting into and try and get more flexible with how I'm working.
Yeah.
And push him down that route because it works for him anyway.
Wow.
So those were our reasons. Yeah.
So how do you feel that your children have benefited from this homeschooling environment in terms of, as you say, their self-esteem, the way that their identity? I mean, how do you cultivate that when they're more or less by themselves a lot?
I think
Should I go first? Oh.
Go on, Dee, and then I
think, personally, I wish I was home educated, because you get one-on-one attention. These are our children, so we want the best for them.
Yes.
We want to pull out the genius in them.
Absolutely.
You know, I want them to remain individuals, be themselves, and they're allowed to do that at home. You know, I know that my youngest finds it difficult to sit still. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to learn. He just needs, and I allow him to do that. You know, my eldest is quite quirky. I want him to maintain that, be yourself. So home education allows them to be themselves, to be free. I can give them that one-on-one attention that they wouldn't get at school, and it's not feasible. It's 30 odd children, the teacher can't do that. But you know, as a parent, you can and you want to. So yeah.
Wow, thanks for that. Ike?
On my side, I would say just seeing how they pick up things as quickly as they do. I'm like Dee said, it's one-on-one, so there's a lot they can gain from that aspect. And obviously, from their side, from our children's side, they may look at it from the social. That's the social element is a different ball game. So hence the reason why I'm always trying to juggle with different activities during the week, so they can socialize and make their friends, etc., etc. So on that side, it's very difficult, and at times, the socializing aspects is totally different. Because in school, you're around how many children you make your friends, you talk to who you talk to. But at home, it's like, okay, we're just getting on with what we're getting on with. But having said that, the way they're learning and the way they're developing, to me, is a lot more, I want to use the word holistic again, but they're maturing quicker in how they're learning, because they're getting that one-on-one time. They're doing specific things. So when they go out, they're doing specific activities for fun and things like that. You know, but it is a difference for them. And I think COVID itself has actually shown me how hard it is for some children who are social. And my son is super social. Like, he wants to know everybody. He wants to speak to everybody. He's a fun-loving guy. So I'm constantly trying to get new ideas. I'm constantly talking to parents. I have to, that aspect of it is the hard work part for me. But all in all, I wouldn't go back, because I feel like his self-esteem would be completely shattered by now. I believe that certain things he's maturing in now, he wouldn't be. And I think one of the main things I noticed from school, especially when they hit secondary school, was this, there's a culture where, and even me when I was young, it was a similar thing. You follow a lot.
Right.
There's an energy that you feel, and you just think it's just, for a child, it's just, this is what it is. But as a parent looking in, it leads to a lot, because you start hearing knife, you start hearing all these different things. And that's scary within itself. And even your child coming home, they're not the same child that left in the morning. They're a different child. And we start to notice all these things. So I wouldn't, want him to be back in that environment. I want him to mature in a different environment and be nurtured in a different environment.
Brilliant. Thank
I
you.
agree. I agree. When you have boys, especially, you have to think
Yes.
that's a worry of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all we're hearing on the news now. And you see, I mean, the children are just so innocent. That's the thing about children. They're just naturally innocent. They're walking down the road, they're playing, and they're just following because they're a child. And we as the adults can see the danger. And we as the adults can be like, no, don't follow certain crowds and don't get involved with certain things. But in their innocent minds, it's just, but that person's my friend. That person's doing this, and I'm just going to do it as well, you know? So I've got another question here. And it says, my child is 13, and I'm thinking of homeschooling. Is it too late to start? Either of you can answer.
I don't. I know. I would say no.
No.
I don't think it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Well, apart from in year
Exam years, yeah.
No, it's still then it might not be too late, you know. So
Never too late. Oh, good. That's good. So if somebody is thinking now of switching from mainstream education to homeschooling, what would be the process? What would you recommend? What steps for them to take? What steps would you advise them to take? Either of you.
Well, my children have never been to school, so I didn't have to go through any of the red tape. However, I do know that if you do intend to take your child out of school, you have to notify the school, and you also have to notify the council.
Okay.
Or the school will notify the council, and then the council will contact you afterwards. Sometimes they want to contact you to find out what you're going to be doing. I think that can be quite frightening for some parents because they feel as though they're doing something wrong.
Right.
But a lot of the time there are stories that I've heard of where parents have been almost challenged as if they don't have a right to educate their child, but majority of the councils just want to make sure that the child will receive an education.
Right.
And so they may contact you just to find out what you plan on doing. Parents are allowed a period of unschooling, so you can just let them know you'll be unschooling for a while, and that just means giving them a period to adjust to actually being in the classroom with other children and the whole
Right.
just allowing them to develop their own routine. Yeah, but as far as I think that's it as far as I'm aware of. I think Ike's son may have gone to school, so he might have more information on that.
Thank you, Dee.
Everything you said was spot on. I mean, you get contacted after a particular period of time. They give you some time, and then they contact you, and they want to know what you're doing. You confirm it with them, and then after that, to some degree, they are really helpful as well. So they can offer you resources. Mm-hmm. So some people look at it in a daunting way, but it depends how you handle yourself and how you see it, how you perceive the situation as well. And also it depends who you get, because some people have a power trip as well. So it depends who you get. Obviously, everybody's an individual. Beyond the process from coming outside the school, I think deregistering from the school. You also, I would advise that you start looking into your local area, the council itself, to see if there's a homeschool group in that area or in that borough.
Right.
And you'll probably find there's quite a few groups that have been created that you can actually join, and then some of them are online based, some of them you have to go somewhere and meet up. So it might be somewhere like Epping Forest, depending if you live in that area, where kids do nature walks and things like that. And that's one of the main hubs where you can actually speak to other parents and get a lot of ideas. And you can share your ideas. And some people might even say to you, okay, there's a group over here, they do English, there's a group over here, they do. So it's you just have to search, you have to be willing to look. And then there's a lot of information out there, like Dee said earlier. There's a lot of information out there. And then take them on trips and stuff like that, which I can't wait till this whole thing's lifted so I can start doing stuff my wife used to do, just take them to, I don't even know where yet, but British Museum, all these different places. So I can learn something as well, you know? So yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, you said something really profound there. Do you feel that it's a joint learning process, that so as you're teaching them, you're also learning loads of things that you probably didn't learn at school as well?
Definitely that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, dude. Oh, yeah. I think definitely that, and also the fact that you're teaching a certain way and you get that aha moment and that feeling of, you know, them learning. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to particular subjects as well, for instance, if I'm teaching my son science, some of these things I forgot, you know, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, remember this? Oh my God, is that what it is? Let's go, you know, so you get excited with it as well. So, and he's just there rolling his eyes, oh God, you know. So you have to pump in that enthusiasm, and by the end of the lesson, he's learned something.
Wow.
So it's it can be really inspirational as well, and you come up with all these new ideas. For instance, financial education. Like you start thinking of how can I teach him how to think about business,
right?
Or let me show him what I do every day. So that's a little bit of work experience. Join me. We're going to do some coding on this. This is what I do. You know, things like that. If you were going to do a business, like you're going to be a piano teacher, how would you go about it? We start talking about it. So you can throw in whatever you want, and different moments you get inspired by different things.
Yes.
So sometimes it's hard to control it, but you know, sometimes they just pop up and they're really good ideas. So yeah, that's it.
So talking about something like science, so at school you have practicals, you've got your Bunsen burners, you've got your Petri dishes, you've got your microscopes and all that. So do you guys have to have all this equipment at home as well to do your practical scientific experiments?
I mean, if you wanted to, you could have. I don't yet have Bunsen burners and those things, but we do experiments, you know. My boys love science, and so yes, you do experiments. There's sometimes where you need to get equipment, but a lot of the times there are things around the home that you can use.
Right.
And it's not just that side. It's not just the chemistry side. So there's biology. There's them going out in the garden and doing finding bugs. There's all different aspects. So, I mean, you have to be creative.
Right.
You have to be creative, and there are resources out there to help you.
Right.
You know, so there's online programs. They'll tell you what you need in advance. If there is something you're going to need, you know, I get it. But yeah, I don't have all equipment. I don't have the Bunsen burners and all those things. But yeah.
So Ike, do you do any scientific experiments?
No, with the experiments, we don't go that far. I don't want to burn down the house or anything, but knowing my luck. But he has a good science teacher through the homeschool group, and they when he physically was going there before everything shut down, they would have experiments for their chemistry, because he has his chemistry lessons, physics lessons, and biology. So you have them separate, and it's IGCSE based, and then there'll be experiments and things like that. Wow. And what I would do beforehand with the science is I would go through, because you know the topic they're going to be covering beforehand. I'll sit with him and we'll go through it beforehand. So we have like a brief. Okay. We go through it, and then after that he will understand the basics. And then after that we'll watch a video online, a science video online on that particular topic, GCSE topic. We'll go through that. It will show you an experiment in it. We'll observe it, and then when he gets to the class, or when he goes online, it's a little easier for him to take it all in, because he understands the basics already. So that's one thing I do. But in terms of the experiments, I'm not too confident in that area. Yeah.
Ah, brilliant. So do you think there's anything your children will lack being homeschooled compared to being in maybe a large mainstream school? Do you think there's anything that they will lack in any way? Can you think of anything?
Not at all.
No.
I don't. I don't. The socialization aspect. There's home ed groups. There's
Right.
groups. There's other home ed children who they socialize with. We all have families and friends. They socialize with, and they do it naturally.
Yes.
My boys, I take them out, and they're not just socializing with their age group. They socialize with everybody, and people always say, "Oh, your son's very clever. You know, he's very articulate," and he is, and he doesn't shy away from speaking to anybody, adult, child, you know. And the younger one's shyer, but if he was at school, that's who he would be. That's who he is. He stands back until he gets to know you a bit. So I've forgotten the question. I've gone off on a tangent, and I've forgotten.
No, I was just saying, do you think they'll lack anything from being homeschooled?
I think they
No.
actually gain more being at home, because like I was saying, I teach my son's financial education. I have an interest in cryptocurrency. They're learning about that now too.
Wow.
So whatever I'm doing, they're learning about it. I was doing a holistic health course. My son said, I want to do that. So he's doing that too. The information that I'm exposing them to, they wouldn't get that at school.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't see any disadvantage to them being.
Brilliant. So what about, I mean, I've heard a lot of people think about homeschooling, especially with regards to Black boys and the way they feel that the educational system might be letting them down. What would your views be on that particular topic? So we say I, because your boy is older.
Yeah. Well, my view on that is, to a certain degree, actually, no, it's very true. You have to have some kind of supplementary aspect to the education. If it's not you, say for instance, my son was still in public school, I would have to make sure there's certain things I'm showing him or teaching him. Or take it a step further, there has to be some kind of supplementary, access he has, for instance, on weekends or something, which my son has. He goes to a group at the moment where he started in September, and they were highly recommended, and they've just been brilliant. And they're, Young Leaders Academy, and they really build their confidence and teach them a lot about themselves, and they do activities. They don't take no smack, they have to do drills and different things and just to build them up. And since he started it, initially it was online, but even it being online, it was brilliant for him, and even at times with my daughter, I was okay to sit in with my daughter and on a different computer, and she can take part in the girls' sessions where she will basically start learning certain things from a young age and soaking in stuff. And even that, I was writing so many notes the first time we did it. It was amazing. So I think that, I'm going on a tangent as well, actually. I've forgotten the question. I just caught myself. I was like, wow, okay.
It's okay. Your tangent was very informative. You weren't talking rubbish. If you were talking rubbish, there'd be a problem.
Wow.
I was just talking about, like, for young Black boys, and now a lot of people are saying that the regular mainstream school is not really serving them or not really bringing the best out of them. So what would your comments be, having your child, seeing how your child has developed in homeschool? You could sort of compare. What would your views be? What would you say?
Just add on to whatever you want them to actually experience.
No.
Simple as that, and find the best thing you can. There's many academies out there now that help young Black boys and young Black girls. Let's not forget the young queens. They need that as well. So
that's something I'm really passionate about. Parents always playing an active part in their children's education, regardless of where their child's being educated. It's the parents hand that has, the parent is the major player. And if you give your child over to the school or whatever system completely, you're not going to get the best out of your child. So I was going to ask, so in these groups, is it easy for them to find someone else of their actual age group? So say like for instance, your child is year 9. So the group you find, did you find the children are all year 9? So did you find a year 9 homemade group for your child? Is that how it works?
No. No. The good thing about it is that there's different age groups and different age groups mature in different ways.
Right.
So it depends who the type of personalities your child navigates to. My son can talk to the youngest child and the oldest child. Both spectrums, you can talk to them and socialize with them and on their level. So
really good.
That gives them that skill to be able to, even with the adults as well, how to communicate with different age groups. So it's not to think, okay, it's just everyone my age and that's it.
Right.
It's very free.
What school teaches them.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. I was thinking about in school, so if a child doesn't do their work, they'd have a detention. Now, obviously you're the parents. So if a child doesn't do their work, do you put are there any consequences, or do you ever get any resistance to them working?
I'd be lying if I said you never get resistance, because sometimes you do. Like I said, I may assign them work and I say, this needs to be done this week. They love playing on their PlayStation. They know that when the weekend comes, they won't be going on it if their work hasn't been done. And that just works. That works perfectly.
Right.
You have to know how to encourage them, how to I guess have a way to get them to want to do their work, as opposed to putting them in detention. I don't know. If they haven't done it, it may be that on that day they weren't in the mood, or they didn't feel they wanted to do it, but they know they will have to eventually.
Right. So are there any consequences for not doing their work in your household?
Yes. No, especially now, because with my little one, she really manipulated me the other day, and it took me a little while to figure it out. But we started with we're doing the times table. We've been doing it for a while, and we got on the 7 times, and she's very close to completing all of them. But every time we go online and we get towards the end of this thing we do, which is like an online times table site, I try to make it more fun and more interactive, where it's not just sitting down writing timetable. And she would want to play this game, but with this game, she would never practice the actual 7 times table that we're doing. So we're currently on the 7 times table, we're nearly there, but she wouldn't practice it. Oh no, Daddy, I just want to play the game. I just want to put the 1 times table in there so I can earn the money, so then I can buy more things for the horses. Now this went on for like a few weeks. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm trying to, okay, you know what, we're just going to go for it. So she's not picking it up as quickly as she would normally would. So the other day, like today, literally, I said to her, no, that's it. We're going to do it. 7 times table on there, and we're going to go for it, and we're going to do it. Other times it might be that she doesn't want to do her homework. So she'll have a homework sheet and she doesn't want to do the homework. So she'll start off with a particular type of attitude, like she doesn't want to do it. But instantly, if I relax and I say, okay, darling, relax, the TV goes on. I come back to the room, the TV's on. And I'm like, listen, turn that off and go get your work done. If you can watch TV, you can get that work done. So there's certain things that I'm a little bit more, at least even if you do half of it, get some of it done. Yeah. With my son, he's pretty straightforward, actually. He's at an age now where he just goes in, he does what he has to do. Like Dee said, as long as he knows, okay, I'm going to be playing my PlayStation at a certain time with my friends, he gets everything done.
Right.
so he doesn't play. And my daughter's getting to that stage as well because she enjoys playing the PlayStation with her brother for a little time. So I use that as well as other things to try and motivate her. But there's sometimes where I put my foot down a little bit because I'm conscious that I'm daddy, and daddies can be easily manipulated. So so I'm just watching all these little things at the moment. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I've asked you an awful lot of questions, but is there anything you think I've not asked you about homeschooling? Is there anything you think, you know what, this is what I came on here to say tonight, or this is what I really want parents to know, and Tracy's not asked me? Is there any area or anything that I've not covered that you think, you know what, parents need to know this? T?
I think parents need to know that you can home educate, because a lot of people, what I found is when I say just being out and about shopping with the boys, or we're at the park, and people, especially in shops, oh, you're not at school, they will say to my boys. And it's parents knowing that you have the option to home educate if it's feasible. The need to educate your child is yours. The right to educate your child is yours, either at school or otherwise. The otherwise, home education falls into the otherwise. And so that's one thing I think a lot of parents are not aware, that they can home educate their children. And at any age. You asked earlier if it's too late at 13, I think you said.
Yes.
There are parents who have taken out their children just before exams, their GCSEs.
Wow.
They see the pressure that they're under, and so they pull them out, so it's at any age.
Any age. Wow, thank you for that. Ike, is there anything that you'd really like to share with parents this evening that you think they really do need to know?
Yeah, I think two things. One of the things is mainly from my experience alone, is that you actually don't believe you can't do it. It's easier said than done, but do your research and look into, be inspired by what you find. Like, look for inspiring things that you can actually teach your children, so you're inspired and you're confident. That's one thing I experienced, because especially in the last year, certain things that I wouldn't touch before, I'm starting to touch. And also, don't worry about what other people may feel about what you're doing, because that's another aspect. You get a lot of you may get that from family, you may get that from friends. There's a lot of judgment that comes with your choice. But it's like anything else. People are going to judge you no matter what. So, stand on your square, and whatever you decide to do, just do it with full conviction. I was going to say something else, but I drifted again. But I got inspired by my own talk there for a second. Just stay grounded, make it holistic, but also I think get outside as much as you can. And I think at the moment that's what I'm starting to look back at what my wife did and all the pictures and different things they did, and I'm just starting to think, wow, you know what? I need to do more of this. I need to do more. I need to get out more. Because a lot of the times we restrict ourselves to being indoors, because you've got this school mentality where you're thinking, okay, everything can be done outside. The other day I saw a parent at a park when it was one of the days where it was sunny, and they were actually, they had a blanket down, and they had their daughter, and they were just doing their work with them there. And once they finished that, they ran around. And then when it was time to eat, they had a little picnic there. And then, you understand? So I saw that and I was like, wow, to me, that was just amazing. I was like, okay, you know what? I need to think differently. So I bought a dongle where I can go out more and actually to the parks, a stronger one, because the one I had before wasn't as strong, so I got a stronger one. And then when we go to the parks in particular, because it's not very, signal's not very good, now I can just sit in the park with them, and I can just let them do stuff, and then later on we can sit down and we can do some work. So just get some fresh air, go into nature more, teach them more about nature, and even when everything opens up, go to as many places as you can. Let them experience things.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It is really important to get out.
Yeah.
To get out as much as possible. there's a misconception that they're only learning if they're writing in books or they're on.
Yes.
They're learning everywhere. You know, I think I've been to every museum in London with my boys, and we spent many a day in the park doing work, and then they know when they finish, like he said. You know, so yeah, definitely.
Excellent. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for your sacrifice of your evening. If there are parents who want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? Ike?
I would say by email.
What?
But
You don't want them knocking on your door.
Send me an email. I'll definitely get back to you. I'll leave you my email, my details.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Dee also?
Likewise. Yeah. Likewise.
Excellent. Because normally people say, how can I get in touch with them? What they shared was so much. I want to ask them some more questions, etc., etc. But yeah, again, thank you. You've been amazing. I've learned so much. I really, really, really have. I've got so many thank yous coming up in the chat. I'm just checking if there's any more last minute questions for you both before I allow you to go. Someone said, I just started homeschooling my son with additional needs. I am secondary trained and he is 5. What I learned early on is you don't have to set up school in your house. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Janet. So yeah, we didn't really touch on special needs, did we? So quickly, because I know I've had you for an hour, do you think there's anything any parent should know if they have a child who has any particular special needs? Anything?
If they do, they can get in contact with their council.
Brilliant.
Offer them resources and put them in contact with different groups. There are centres that their children can go to. So although they're not in school, there are centres that they can
send.
Right. But yeah, definitely get in contact with their council.
Excellent. Thank you, Dee. Well, my darlings, thank you so much for your time. And thank you everyone who has joined in, watching, putting questions on. And until our next 2 week time show, good night, and I'll see you on soon. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.